Okay, everybody, welcome back to the channel. Name is Joey McCullough. Glad you could join me on this ride. I'm going on a work appointment. It's I don't know, about 9:30 in the morning, and we're going to talk about the 5 reasons that you do not want to buy a Road King. 5 reasons now. Now, don't get me wrong, I love my Road King, but it's not everybody's first bike. It's not for everybody. We're going to talk about it. First thing, number 1, this is not a beginner's bike. If you're looking for your first bike, the Road King is not the bike. This thing is a beast. First thing, it's heavy. This thing is heavy. This is 900 pounds plus, depending on what you have on it. It's heavy. Number 2, on the not a beginner bike, is it's hard to handle. This thing is not as agile as your little bikes. Like the bike I'm coming from is a Suzuki. This thing is not as agile. I mean, it handles great, don't get me wrong, but it's not as easy as a smaller bike. Another thing about it not being a beginner's bike is it's expensive. If you lay this thing down, you'll be crying. We're talking 20,000 plus, depending on what options you get. You do not want to lay this bike down. And there's also better options out there. There's just better options for your beginner bike. I would recommend anybody getting a bike 800, 900 or less for your first bike. That's just a recommendation. And another reason not to buy a Road King is you might not like riding. So if you get a bike, say you buy a Road King, you don't like riding, you're out a lot of money. Get a smaller bike. I mean, even a Rebel 250 or a Rebel 500, and ride it and see if you really like riding bikes. That's what I would recommend. Okay, number 2. If you don't want to go touring, if you don't want to get on the highway, you don't need to buy a Road King. There's no reason to buy a Road King if you're not going on the highway. If you're beating around town, a smaller bike is definitely a plus. These bikes were made to take on the highway. They're made to go long distance, the most comfortable you can go. Also, these things are harder to maneuver in traffic. They're a bigger bike, they create more heat. And if you're stopping and going all the time, this is not the bike for you. And they have big, I mean, these things have 6-gallon gas tanks. They're huge. You know, they have, saddlebags. Do you want saddlebags? You gotta really determine what type of riding you're gonna be doing. If you're gonna be doing on the highway, or are you gonna be going just beating around town? If you're beating around town, you don't need a Road King. Number 3. Number 3, these things are expensive. They're not cheap. It's so much easier to buy a cheaper bike and see if you like riding and save yourself some money. Another thing, you spend a lot of money on these bikes, and the warranty is only 2 years, which is very sucky on Harley's side. I mean, 2-year warranty on a bike that costs 20,000 plus is not my idea of a good warranty. And if you want to upgrade, like say you want to do stage 1 or stage 2, you know, you buy another bike, a metric bike, they don't have stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4 upgrades. Those things aren't cheap. Another thing is, under the expensive item is, you need space to store these things. These things ain't tiny. These things are big behemoths. You just can't grab them and turn them around. You can't, if you parked it wrong, you want to move it, you're not picking this thing up. This thing is not moving. If you see one of my previous videos, what I do is I get a jack. I've got a 1,500 pound jack that I lift this thing up on and flip it around on my porch. That's how I turn it around. This thing is heavy. Also, insurance is more expensive on these bikes. You buy a $5,000–6,000 bike, the insurance isn't bad. Insurance on these bikes are kind of expensive. Number four, the fourth reason not to buy a Road King: no fairing. If you want a fairing, you want GPS, you want a stereo, now you can put a stereo on a Road King, but if you want a fairing and all the bells and whistles, you don't need to buy a Road King. The reason I like a Road King is I don't have any distractions. The distractions are just, there's enough distractions trying to drive this thing. Another thing, these are air cooled. They're not water cooled. They're air and oil cooled. So these things get hot. I said there's no radio, and also you can take the windshield off of this Road King if you want to, which is one of the pluses why I like the Road King. You can take the windshield off. Number 5, they're minimalist. Going back to, they're not a Goldwing or a BMW. I mean, they're minimalist. You don't have to, you're more one with the road, which is what I enjoy about biking. Biking is so much fun, but it's nice to be able to see the road. A fairing just blocks a lot of your vision. Another thing, a Road King is belt driven. It's not shaft drive, it's not chain drive. So if you want a shaft driven motorcycle, you want to have a reverse gear, a Road King is not the bike you want to have. So let's go through those real quick. They're the wrong bike if you're not touring. They're not a beginner bike. They're expensive. It's not Goldwing or BMW. And they are minimalist. They are definitely minimalist, which is what attracts me to the Road King. Anyway, those are the 5 things. Now, Road King is a great bike. Don't get me wrong. I love this Road King. I can't imagine having another bike. I can imagine having a road glide or a street glide later, but I don't want to get rid of my Road King. I want to keep the Road King. Okay, here we are riding, going to a work meeting, enjoying the beautiful day. If anyone's haven't been watching the news, we have a hurricane coming up through the Gulf Coast. It's going to hit, I believe, Louisiana and Texas on the line somewhere there. We dodged a bullet this time. There's many models that showed it coming to Mobile, Alabama. I got my 360 camera out today. We'll see what we can do with this thing. See if it's gonna be something I'm gonna like using. Another thing, if you don't want to buy a Road King, you don't want to be tightening up everything on your bike all the time, just look at my foot peg. It needs to be tightened. This thing is rattled loose. You have to go around occasionally and tighten things up. I thought I had that thing pretty tight. I guess I'm going to put some Loctite on it this next time. One of the things I love about the Road King is the simplicity of this bike. It just looks like a Harley Davidson should look like, in my eyes. I'm really loving riding motorcycles again. You know, I've been riding since I was 14. I recently purchased the first bike, same model, same year, of my first introduction to motorcycles. I'll put a caption. It was a Honda Passport C70. It'd go about 45, 50 miles an hour, depending on what hill you were on. But that's how I got involved in motorcycles, and it's been all downhill from there. It's just a great, great hobby. If you're interested in it, starting to ride bikes, don't hesitate, do it. It is a lot of fulfillment for me. I've said in my previous videos, it is therapy. I have got to get on a motorcycle, clear my mind, and take everybody along with me. Look at all the dirt. They're redoing the highway. You jump up here. Man, bad morning to take the bike. Look at all the dust. Holy smokes. Road construction. I need to take the back way, get back to where I'm going. Look at the traffic. Go ahead and get off. And we're almost here.